Hello, it's me, Arnold, and I'm back as the Terminator, baby. And I'm back in my beloved franchise to spew off my famous one-liners, such as Hasta la vista, baby. And I'll be back. And I am here to give you my best Terminator movie of all time. Wait, did I say best movie of all time? No, of course not. What are you, stupid? This was just created by a bunch of girly men and they didn't even not know what they're doing. Just making stuff up as they go along. Okay, enough with the Arnie impression. I told my friends that this movie might suck, and I knew it. I knew I was right. What a complete, utter, retarded mess of a film. Yeah, that's great that Arnold is back in the role which he was born to play. But for the rest of it, it just stopped making no sense to the point that my brain just checked out after the first 10 or 15 minutes. Do you want a story in this film? Well, guess what? There is no story. John Connor and his men find the time machine below after they think they have defeated Skynet. This time the volunteer, Kyle Reese, is played by Jai Courtney. I have never seen A Good Day to Die Hard, so I'm sure that Jai Courtney is a good action star. But as Kyle Reese, he doesn't have the right quality or charisma that Michael Biehn once brought to him. So they recycle the scenes from the first Terminator film in 1984. Reese and the original T-800 are sent back in time at the exact spots. Kyle steals the hobo's pants while the machine is getting ready to murder the three guys at the telescope overlooking the city. And here comes two major flaws in the space-time continuum. I'm sure that everybody remembers the cop whom Kyle stole the gun from. But here, it turns out that this cop is an Asian version of the T-1000. Meanwhile, the T-800 is getting ready to kill the three dudes when then suddenly he gets shot in the back. It turns around and we find that it's a newer, older version of the T-800. So this one was sent back in time to stop its old self. While the new T-1000 is chasing down Kyle through that same clothing store we seen in the first film. And while this is happening, the T-800 then comes along, the new one, to help save Kyle Reese, along with his partner. And guess who the machine's partner turns out to be? That's right, none other than the bad girl version of Sarah Connor from the second film. What?! You mean to tell me that she is not the same Sarah Connor who was the sweet, innocent, helpless woman we knew in the first film? And the writers tried to explain to their poorest efforts that a new T-800 was sent back in time before Kyle Reese came along to warn her so she could be prepared for this? Oh, fellas, this just doesn't add up! Look, I don't care if I'm giving out any spoilers, I just want to let this all out. Well, surprise, the T-1000 wasn't the villain because Arnold destroyed him in an acid shower. And it turns out that they go into the sewer and discover that there's a new time machine that is being developed down there all along. I'm sorry, but that does not make any sense either. It's like the creators were just making stuff up as they go along, I swear. And one of the Game of Thrones stars, the lovely Emilia Clarke, was casted as Sarah Connor. And that's another problem. Clarke was not as good as Linda Hamilton because she did not have the amount of range or charisma that Linda Hamilton had for Sarah Connor. Linda Hamilton brought such a special quality to Sarah Connor and she still freaks me out to this day. That's what I love about it. But for Emilia Clarke, it just doesn't feel the same. Emilia's job is mostly just firing weapons alongside Jai Courtney and looking sexy at the same time. Oh yeah, sure, there was some sexy footage, but even that wasn't enough for me to like this film. So now that Kyle and Sarah are transported to the year 2017, John Connor, their son, gets transported from another timeline and he meets up with his parents, but then suddenly they find out a deep, dark secret that he's hiding. John has been mutated by this most advanced program software company in the world called Genisys. Here is another point in the film where it goes fully retarded. The movie producers think I wouldn't notice, but oh no, I'm not as stupid as you think I am. They ripped off stuff from such films such as Will Smith's I, Robot and the Wachowski brothers' The Matrix Revolutions. Yeah, you remember that scene in The Matrix Revolutions where Neo meets the leader of the Machine City having thousands of machines unravel that forms a huge face that starts speaking to him? It turns out that Genisys, developed by Skynet, has now used this nanite type of technology to form the most advanced Terminators that ever was. And John Connor was the leader of the human resistance, so why in God's name would they suddenly screw up the space-time continuum to turn him into a villain? Oh, and this makes my brain hurt every time I try to bring some logical sense to this. There were times in this film where they tried to make some humor,
but even that made me roll my eyes. I remember James Cameron had a deleted scene in Terminator 2 where he had Arnold smiling, but he knew that would drag and wouldn't work, so he decided to cut it out of the film for good reason. Arnold was just made into a joke here because they had him do that. The film is just a complete mess and all over the place. Even the CGI didn't look that good. They even had the great actor J.K. Simmons be a stand-in for Dr. Silverman. But even his stale dramatic performance was enough to save this film. 95% of everything that happened in this film just didn't work for me. Just face it, people, this franchise is dead. I have no choice but to give Terminator Genisys a 1 out of 10. Now, to let you know, I'll always love the first 2 films, but for the continuation of this franchise and the way it is going, I'm done. Nobody took any chances with this film. They had to make it the most dumbest thing ever. Thank you all so very much for watching as always. Be sure to leave me a comment down below what you think, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.